going to be. Yeah, you have to get up.
Is that what has to be? There.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the January 9, 2014 PDC Board of Commissioners meeting. Gina, please call the roll.
Chair Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Dixon, absent. Commissioner Kelly.
Here.
Commissioner Moles. Here. Commissioner Will Hoyt, absent.
Great. Sorry that we're missing two of our commissioners today, but I want to start by welcoming our new Commissioner Tom Kelly to the board. Congratulations, I think. You know, I've got to say, we've been involved in the process, obviously, and helped the mayor with a list of folks that we thought would be good, and you were one of the top candidates on my list. Certainly a well-known, well-respected, successful businessman, an East Side guy, and somebody who's made it really clear that you've got the same kind of equity and sustainability priorities that this commission has. So we're really excited to have you on board, and if you'd like an opportunity to say something, this is it.
Well, I am certainly excited to be here and honored to be here that the mayor asked me to do it and the commission approved me, even if it had to be a consent agenda yesterday. I'm really proud of the fact that I don't know if I'm the only second-generation commissioner.
I don't know if we verified it, but
yeah,
there's another one. They're rare.
For those of you who don't know me, my dad, Neil Kelly, was the first commissioner actually from outside of downtown Portland. So our business is out in North Portland, and he was the first commissioner back, I think, in 1985. He served from 85 to about 90. And he passed away in 1995, so this is certainly, there's a certain emotional aspect of following his footsteps. It's quite special for me and my family. So happy to be here.
Great, thank you, Tom. This is a time when we have commissioner reports. We had the usual monthly meetings with the all of the commissioners in the last couple of weeks, as well as the mayor. And in addition, I got a visit from Deb Kafori, Sandy McDonough at PBA, and Vim from PSU. And also had the opportunity to attend Lou Bauer's retirement on Monday, which was quite an event. We're all going to miss him, but I know the way he went out, he's going to enjoy being retired. So I'm a little bit jealous. John?
Well, thanks, Scott, and welcome, Tom. I've known and worked with Tom for many years, so just gives us another opportunity to cross paths. So that'll be and work together. So that'll be good. Our audit liaison team met, and we're going to talk more about that in item number 7. But we met a couple of weeks ago and met with Moss Adams and all the other folks that are part of that team and got a good report. And again, I don't want to steal the thunder from item 7, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then I attended Lou Bauer's retirement party as well a couple of nights ago, and it was great to see not only some of the folks, active folks from PDC, but past employees and past commissioners, and catch up with people as well. So if you chose about items of clothing off about 4 different people, the wildest 4 in the room here, that'd give you an idea of how Lou was dressed that night. So very, very appropriately. Thank you.
Honoring Lou. Executive Director Patrick Quinton, time for your report.
Thank you very much, Chair Andrews. Good afternoon, Commissioner Mullis, and welcome, Commissioner Kelly. I share the pleasure of everyone else who's up here today with you joining the board. We're really looking forward to it. I know staff is very much looking forward to working with you. So it's been a while since our last board meeting. And even though we did have the the holidays and during that period, a lot happened. But I do want to start off by once again just recognizing that since our last board meeting, a lot of people have left the organization. So we had the last day for the individuals who were impacted by our reduction in force. That was the 13th of December, and so that I think a lot of those folks have made significant progress on their outplacement and job searches. So we look forward to hearing news about where they land. But then we also did have a host of retirements. Everyone mentioned Lou Bauer's retirement, and Lou, long-serving Central City manager, impact on a lot of projects. At the end of December, we also Fred Atiemo left us. Fred was our business finance manager for a long time. I think a lot of people in the small business community know Fred and the work that he did. Dave Oburn left us. Dave was our construction services manager for a long time. So on most of the big projects that we did, he was the guy who got his hands dirty in addition to the developers and other folks who worked on the sites. But he was the one who uncovered all the environmental issues and other issues and helped solve those. And so we're going to miss Dave. A ton of institutional history left the building with Dave. And then Connie Crooker, who was an assistant in our Central City team for a long time. So yeah, it's bittersweet. But today we had our first staff meeting of the new year, and we kicked it off trying to look forward. We've been through a lot as an organization over the past 5 years, multiple reductions in force, budget reductions, multiple collective bargaining agreements, reorgs, and we really have now are past that significant period in the organization's history, and it's nice to be able to start a year and really be thinking primarily about the work and the impact that we can have in our communities. So as I mentioned, we had a lot happen over the past 2 months, and I'll try and run through some things pretty quickly. Right after our last board meeting, we had the Dawson Park groundbreaking. Commissioner Fish and Commissioner Fritz participated, Michael Alexander from the Urban League, but Dawson Park is actively under construction if you go by it, and we wanted to work through the winter and the spring so that it would be reopened again in the summer. So I go by there every day. It's moving along quite nicely. We announced right in that same week that we have an entrepreneur in residence, a gentleman by the name of Bill Lynch. Bill was one of the founders of Jive Software, and with the success of Jive, like many entrepreneurs, he was able to leave the organization and is now pursuing other ventures. And as a result of that, we were able to get him to agree to serve in a volunteer role for us for a year to help us think through how we can further promote entrepreneurship within the city of Portland. So example, Bill spoke to our staff today about what it means to be innovative in an organization like ours. We had the announcement that same week that the city of Portland was awarded the World Track Championship in 2016. This is largely the result of an organization called Tracktown USA, which is based here in Oregon, and they are respected around the world for putting on these kind of events. And so that event will be held in Portland and at a venue to be determined, but it's been speculated that there are certain venues that we have an interest in may be used, so we're looking forward to seeing if we make something happen as a result of that event. That's a few years out. I had the opportunity to tour the nearly complete Collaborative Life Sciences building with the mayor, the head of OHSU, and Jay Zeidel, who is the largest property owner in South Waterfront, and the week before Thanksgiving, as a way for us to begin to talk about the next wave of development that needs to happen in South Waterfront. We'll probably come back at a later time and brief the board on everything that's happening, both on that side of the river as well as on the east side of the river, and what can happen once the bridge is complete. But that was a kind of a great moment to begin to think about that. On that same day, I attended the ribbon cutting for a new software and gaming company called Kicksci. They opened an office in downtown Portland, and the way that they do, because games a lot of times are, for young kids, they like to chop things up and whatnot. So they had a battle axe to cut the ribbon for that ribbon cutting, as opposed to just a regular pair of scissors. So I stood back as the ribbon was being cut in that. But they came to Portland because they could not fulfill their staffing needs in San Francisco. So they recognize that it's a talent-rich market, but a lower-cost market than the Bay Area. Once again, that same week, Bruce Katz from the Brookings Institution was in town and spent a few days here in Portland giving presentations on the metro revolution and the role that cities are playing and metro areas are playing in the global economy. And that, I think, got a lot of people kind of energized about furthering our efforts around an innovation economy here in Portland. The Brookings Institution announced that same week that we were named as one of 20 cities to participate in a 4-year effort called the Global Cities Initiative Exchange. And this is kind of the next progression of the work that Brookings is doing with metro areas. It began with the export plans that have now grown from the original 4 cities, we were one of the 4, to 20 cities. And now those 20 cities will begin to look more broadly around attracting foreign investment and kind of creating these international networks. So once again, our relationship with Brookings continues to deepen. In the beginning of December, we had a number of events. A lot of events get packed in right before the holidays. So I went to the groundbreaking for the Earl Boyles Learning Center in East Portland, a great new early learning setting that's being built next to the Earl Boyles Elementary School. We put money into that as part of our Community Livability Grant Program. That same night, we had our annual athletic and outdoor industry event at OMSI. I think we had 200 to 300 people in attendance. This is the 4th year that we've done that event. The incredible enthusiasm within that industry for doing a lot of collaborative initiatives. Just right across town, the same night, the Oregon Film Office was having its open house in the East Side Exchange, which is the former Burnside Bridgehead building, and so they've now moved in, and our Portland Film Office is a big partner with the Oregon Film Office. And then that same week, we announced the start of our new commercialization program. That's a partnership between us and OHSU and PSU, and with it, we provided grant money to 6 companies that have come out of research at either OHSU or PSU. So up to $30,000 per company. There's 3 companies that were named that are OHSU sponsored companies, and 3 companies that were named that are PSU sponsored companies. And we're going to try and make it an annual event. But what we we view our role with research-based companies coming out of our universities as the universities know how to nurture the research part of it and know how to research, how to nurture the kind of development of that into a commercializable product. And so what we can do is help them get to the, deal with the business side of things and become actual startup businesses. And so we will continue to play that role going forward. If you've gone to our website recently, you've noticed that we have a big feature in the middle of our website that talks about how big we are in Japan, how big Portland is in Japan. And we've been tracking about a dozen different media mentions in the past few months about Portland. There seems to be something that's resonating in Japan around Portland's expertise and culture. And I think, as you know, we've spent a lot of time on the ground in Japan. So we had 2 trade missions just this year in Japan, and our We Build Green Cities initiative really is focusing on a few key markets, and Japan is one of them. So we're seeing, this is the kind of momentum that we're trying to see from our international work. If you picked up the paper yesterday or saw it online, on the front cover of the paper, the Oregonian yesterday, was a picture of these companies that are doing work on the wind farms in eastern Oregon. They're sitting 200 feet above the air. I looked at that photo and thought, why in the world would anybody have that job? But the company that was featured is a Portland company called Premier Gear, and Premier Gear, we've been working with Premier Gear for probably 4 or 5 years now. They're a company that has transitioned from more of a traditional manufacturing markets to being a prime servicer of wind turbines. And so somebody from Premier Gear is one of the people sitting up on top of that wind turbine doing repairs on that. But it's nice to see them get the attention for this transition, and we're happy to have helped them along the way. And then also another bit of news about one of our companies, a company in our last year's Startup PDX Challenge class called On the Go Platforms just announced that they had received a significant angel investment. So this is, once again, what we'd hoped to see from the 6 companies that received the free space and the other assistance from our challenge, that they would move on to bigger and better things. So lastly, I'll just finish up with 3 kind of open RFPs or deadlines. And the first one, it relates to the Startup PDX Challenge. We just announced yesterday that the plans for the 2014 Startup PDX Challenge, and the RFI that we issued yesterday was for real estate partners. So the first thing we need to do is find partners who are willing to offer up their space for free for a year. And so we just issued that RFP where any real estate firms that or building owners that have 6,000 square feet of space that they'd like to throw into the mix for this, we'd love to talk with them if they want to go to check out the RFI. It's at startuppdxchallenge.com, and the deadline for those submissions is on Valentine's Day, Friday the 14th of February. The 2014 Startup PDX Challenge, once we get past lining up our partners, is this year we're focused on minority and women entrepreneurs. So we're hoping to have a class of 6 new companies that are where the founders are either minorities or women, and have the same set of activities happen there. The second RFI is our Lenstown Center properties RFI. We have 3 properties that we own that we put out for bid, and that RFI has been open for a while now. The deadline was supposed to be January 7th. We've had a nice response to that RFI, but we had a few respondents ask for some more time, and so we've extended that RFI to January 17th. Anyone who wants to find out about that, if you haven't heard about it, you can go to our website, pdc.us, and you can click on the contracting opportunities. And then the last open deadline is for the Portland Seed Fund, their 5th class. That deadline is the end of the month, January 31st. So you can go to portlandseedfund.com for that, to hear about that. The Portland Seed Fund is now Fund 2, so the money that we invested as part of the second round is the money that's being invested now. So they're already on to the dollars in Fund 2. The other interesting thing about the Seed Fund is that There was just an article list that came out the other day that was talking about venture activity in the Northwest, kind of talking about the top investors in startup companies in the Northwest. It includes Washington and Oregon and Idaho and other places. And the seed fund is on that list. So that's the kind of scale and impact that the Portland Seed Fund is having after only a few years of activity. So with that, I'm done, and I appreciate you indulging me with some time, but it has been a few months since our last meeting.
Sounds like somebody worked over the holiday, and we're off to a pretty good start for next year. Thank you, Patrick. Now we are to the opportunity for public comments for items not on the agenda, and I want to remind anyone who would like to testify. I see Justin has a few that we need to have you fill out one of the forms and get them to Justin. So there are 5. I'll remind you that you have 3 minutes to make testimony. The bell will go off at the beginning, and there will be another one that'll give you about 10 seconds warning, and then you'll need to be trying to wrap it up. Let's see. We'll start off with Maxine Fitzpatrick, Greg Brown, and Dr. Karen Gibson.
Maxine and I are going to testify together.
Okay. Oh, and you are?
Rachel Gilmer.
Okay.
So good afternoon, Board of Commissioners. My name is Rachel Gilmer, and I'm with the Portland African American Leadership Forum. This is Maxine Fitzpatrick, also with the forum. So the purpose of this testimony is to provide the PDC Board of Commissioners with an update on the recent open letters sent to the mayor and Patrick Quinton so that you are directly aware of our concerns and needs related to the development on Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Alberta Street. We are also meeting with all of the city and county commissioners. For the record, we did receive a response from Mr. Quinton yesterday. 3 weeks ago, the Portland African American Leadership Forum sent an open letter to Mayor Hales, Patrick Quinton, and John Jackley in opposition to the proposed development in partnership with Majestic Realty. This letter was written as a follow-up to a tour we had organized with city and community leaders down North Williams in Vancouver to discuss the disparate impact gentrification has had on our community's well-being and viability. In this meeting, both Mayor Hales and Mr. Quinton expressed a commitment to solving the issues related to gentrification, to finding community-based solutions to stabilize Black residents, and to involving the community in any major development or structural decisions within the PDC. The partnership with Majestic Realty, in which a $2.4 million subsidy of public dollars was provided to develop the land, indicates the opposite of this commitment and reflects the city's overall track record of implementing policies that serve to uproot, displace, and disempower our most vulnerable community members. Rather than invest in proven methods to stop displacement and empower the African American community, the PDC and city continue to support projects that have displaced existing residents and will attract wealthier ones in their place. The Black community has faced continual upheaval and devastation since our migration here due to the ongoing discriminatory systems of development and decision-making by city government and other mainstream jurisdictions. Over the last 60 years, 3 vibrant Black business districts and 4 communities have been scattered, including the most recent gentrification in North and Northeast Portland. With very little land remaining in the historic Black community and with new development taking place at an increasingly rapid rate, the PDC must seize every opportunity possible to support housing, employment, and business opportunities for African American community members of all income levels. As a government entity, the PDC must commit to empowering our most vulnerable community members to make decisions over the future of their neighborhoods. Our community has undergone too many community engagement processes that have not ultimately impacted the way PDC makes decisions. Community engagement must be meaningful and must truly lead to behavioral and structural changes.
In response to this development, we request that the board make a public statement in support of the overall message of the open letter and these specific demands. Demands are suspend all further TIF-funded developments in interstate corridor, urban renewal area, account for all spending in the interstate urban renewal area since the inception to include individual recipients and amounts, and make that information readily available to the public. Suspend the development of the property on Northeast MLK Jr. Boulevard in Alberta until a sufficient amount of affordable housing is incorporated and an independent community-controlled body can negotiate a legally binding community benefits agreement. Publicly endorse the position that Legacy Emmanuel Hospital must relinquish the still vacant property on the corner of North Russell and Williams and bequeath it to the African American community in the form of a community land trust. Formerly the location of a Black business district, the Emmanuel expansion raised and displaced hundreds of African American homeowners and businesses on this site almost 40 years ago. Given the long-standing list of promises made and yet unfulfilled by the Portland Development Commission to prevent community displacement, the Portland African American Leadership Forum is and will remain opposed to any development in North and Northeast Portland that does not primarily benefit the Black community. We will continue to publicly voice our concern and make demands on further decisions by the Commission that do not support community development and stabilization of displaced Black residents. We will return in the near future with a critical mass of constituents to provide an update on our request to stop and remedy gentrification and displacement. On January 21st, we will be presenting a report we've developed in partnership with Lisa Bates of Portland State University and the Coalition of Communities of Color on the state of African Americans and the disparities we face in Multnomah County. We hope that you will be able to join us. And just a note in response to Mr. Quinton's letter to us, it was a reiteration of past goals, and I bring for you a document from 2002 that had the strategy for the urban renewal area in interstate. And one of the goals were, one, preserve and maintain existing sound housing stock, increase the total housing stock by at least 4,000 units by the year 2020 to increase the availability of rental and ownership housing opportunities for current and future residents, and to support expanded services, businesses, and employment opportunities. Ensure an adequate supply of housing is available and affordable costs, 30% or less of gross income to people of all income levels. And the most important one is increase the housing stability of existing residents and protect them from involuntary displacement caused by gentrification, increases in housing costs, and loss of housing choices.
And if I might just add briefly, we had an online petition for the letter. We had nearly 600 signatures in the 3 weeks that it was up and several organizational endorsements. So we just hope that you recognize that level of public support and leverage your positions as public servants to support what the community is asking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Karen Gibson. I'm a professor of urban studies and planning at Portland State University and part of, I'm the board president of Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives, and also here as a member of the Portland Leadership Forum. What I'd like to say is I'm really sorry that Ms. Dixon and Mr. Wilhoit aren't here today, but welcome to you, Tom Kelly. I'd like you to pay attention, if you will, in your time here as a commissioner overseeing the PDC, Mr. Moelis, Mr. Andrews. I'm very concerned, have been studying the PDC for quite a long time, writing about the history of community disinvestment in the Albina district, looking at the interstate urban renewal area, participating in meetings in 2003 with the initial plans. As Maxine just read to you, a lot of the commitments were toward existing residents, and the mayor and Patrick Quinton have acknowledged in the recent letter to us that, you know, these commitments have failed. There's been so much displacement of African American residents, and part of that displacement is due to the historic treatment of the community for years and years, as we mentioned, the 60 years. So I would like, my two concerns are process and accountability. We need, I do not understand why public money, TIF money, you guys are just the stewards of public money, it is, okay? I would like you to work with our auditor, Ms. LaVon Griffin, to have a full accounting from the inception of the spending of the money to today. I think there may be 8 years left in the ICRA, the largest pot of money, 338 million maximum indebtedness. How much has been spent? Where has it been spent? And how does that meet up with the goals of the original plan? In order to get community buy-in to this plan originally, Mayor Katz had more than 50 people get involved, okay? There was a huge representation of community members to get buy-in because of the historic hurts with the Legacy Emmanuel project. I would like to hear Mr. Quinton and this commission and this city be just as excited about truly representing the city of Portland globally as an exemplar when it comes to social justice issues. These issues are not particular to Portland, but it is amazing that little old Portland with a tiny Black community can have such disinvestment and displacement that is totally economically unjust. Process, more public involvement, clear, transparent public involvement. If you're going to do a CBA with a Majestic, it has to be community-driven, not top-down driven. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom. I'm Greg Brown. I am the Deputy Director for Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives. Some know me as a former community commercial real estate lender for Albina Community Bank for 10 years. During my tenure at Albina, I did a lot of partnerships with PDC, public-private, and the Majestic deal is kind of consistent as to what I was dealing with there. I mean, I had no choice. I represented the bank, but it just seemed like every time a person, a white developer came to see me, they've got a sweetheart deal with PDC. They need some funds from me. I was involved with the Heritage Project, the Sitka apartments, the land transactions. I believe my first project partnership with PDC was the Mood Eye Restaurant, which was a person of color, but then everything else turned into development projects. So on behalf of the other comments made, I would just ask that you take a look at that and see. For me, it's just mind-boggling that such a large subsidy for what is, while houses over there are so expensive and with such high density, how land could be so cheap all of a sudden for a specific project to benefit someone from out of town that doesn't even live here, and their dollars will go down to California because you're going to have draws, construction funds. So on that point, I would just ask that you take a hard look at that. And secondly, I do have a copy of Mr. Quinton's responses to the African American leadership. I do have to say I appreciate his comment regarding the PDC acknowledging their participation, contribution to the destructive impact of gentrification, displacement in the African American community. Last year, Legacy Emmanuel called some Black leaders together to apologize for what had happened during the late 60s, early 70s with the Emmanuel expansion. But PDC was not at the table, and they were the orchestrator. The hospital does not have the development know-how, and so I was surprised, and I'm sure there were some individuals who probably didn't appreciate Legacy stepping out there, but we believe they should have been at the table too. So I appreciate this acknowledgement. I hope it has some substance there. Also, we were mentioning here about a community livability grant. $30,000 is not a whole lot to write home to try to highlight as if we asked for 100,000. So I just want to make sure that that's clear and you know,
Thank you for your testimony. We have 3 more that are signed up: Adam Milne, Stacy Halal, and Mr. Notron, Agu Notron.
Hi, my name's Adam Milne, and I'm the owner of Old Town Pizza and Old Town Brewing Company, right across from the proposed site. I'm also a board member of the Vanport Square Owners Association, as well as a neighbor that lives 3 blocks away from the site and who has lived in the neighborhood for 15 years. I'd like to start by thanking the PDC for converting an empty block that's been empty for at least 20 years and turning it into something special. I'm grateful to the PDC staff and commissioners here for coming through for the owners of Vanport Square and for the neighborhood residents. This will be a huge community asset from many aspects. A TJ's representative last night at the King Neighborhoods Association meeting said it best: small businesses locate and succeed near Trader Joe's. The riskiest and hardest part of starting a small business is wondering if there's enough foot traffic to sustain your small business. I believe current and future businesses will prosper because Trader Joe's and their anchor presence, and hopefully many of those new businesses that will come in afterwards will be minority-owned businesses. Another benefit is that it's going to create a retail center where neighbors will run into each other, and it'll feel more like a community rather than a thoroughfare. In addition, kids love Trader Joe's. My 11-year-old daughter's lunch is consistently filled with Trader Joe's food. Trader Joe's as a company does a great job of making healthy food tasty and affordable for families. After attending all of the meetings on the project, I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Philip Brown from Majestic Realty, who has worked really hard and gone out of his way reaching out to the neighborhood, and it feels like he genuinely wants to make this project a proud piece of our community. I'd also like to say that I'm a supporter of affordable housing and acknowledge that it's an important issue in our neighborhood. While this project might not solve every challenge facing North and Northeast Portland, it does so many things right, and I think we'd be hard-pressed to find a better opportunity. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacy Halal, Hallal, and I also am an owner at the Vanport Square, and I'm a resident of King. I also live 3 blocks from the proposed project, and I'm the founder of Curious Comedy Theater, which is a nonprofit arts organization that contributes to the vibrancy of the neighborhood, not only through the arts culture that we contribute to, providing activity, a positive activity in the neighborhood, but we also have outreach programs, one of which works directly with North and Northeast neighborhood schools to improve literacy rates in underperforming schools, including King and Oakley Green. And I believe we're able to do this work because the PDC created an opportunity for me to start this organization that I had wanted to start for 10 years and could never find an affordable place to do so. And finding this space and to be able to open this business and put all of the money in the world, plus some, that I had to start this is only because I had this opportunity through PDC. So not only do I appreciate being a part of Vanport, but I also appreciate this project and what it represents. When we moved in, we were promised the most vibrant MLK, and at the time it was going to be a 24-hour fitness there, and it was supposed to break ground and fell through because of the recession. And I think a Trader Joe's is a much better opportunity for the community with much more activity and positivity for that space. And it will replace what is there now, which is just a bunch of empty space and nefarious activities. And we, as part of Vanport, were included in a lot of options provided by PDC, and we were heard when that medical building was being proposed, and we opposed that building because it didn't add the activity that we were promised and the positive presence of community that a Trader Joe's will actually provide. So I just wanted to come and say thank you very much, PDC, and I'm excited about the opportunity of that extra space to maybe follow the Vanport model and offer that second building and use these discounts that you're giving for the space for the developer to pass those through to other small business owners, particularly minority and women owners like Vanport. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Nghi Tran here. I'm originally from Vietnam, and I live about 1 block from that site, and also the business owner at Vanport. First, I want to thank you, PDC, for revamp the Vanport. So people like me had the chance to be the owner of that small business there. Without PDC, I don't think I would ever have the chance to own a business. And PDC has been doing very good for that project. And also as the business there, I think it's good to have some kind of big business that next to that create some foot traffic for everyone in that Vanport. And that was the promise at the beginning with. So at the business owner perspective, I totally support that because I think it's good for everyone close to that. And as the homeowners, 1 block from there, I think we've been waiting that I've been there for 18 years. So I'm pretty local there. And to have the empty space over there, it's been 15 years, it's been very, very disturbing for everyone. And I think Trader Joe being there, I think the big plus for the neighborhood. And the neighborhood's been changed, day and night for the last 15 years. So I think any kind of project should support for majority of that neighborhood, doesn't matter what race, white, black, or Asian like me. So for that, I think it's the Trader Joe is a big plus for the neighborhood. I totally support it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. We've had one more sign up, Stephen Gilliam.
Hi, thank you. My name is Stephen Gilliam. I own nothing in this community, and I am against this development, this proposed development. I think you provided a subsidy that's too great, and I'd just like to take this time to read from our petition that we put up. There's some 600 people against this development, this open letter that we sent you, and I would just like to read some comments from people who are against this development as well. Retain and support the diversity of communities within Portland. Outside investment has a place but should not and cannot be promoted at the expense of any community. Portland needs to own up to its historical abuse of land use decisions and the impact this has had. It's time to stop displacing the historically disenfranchised at the expense of the rich. The tide is turning. The city wants to discount the property too much. There must be a first source agreement to hire community residents that is legally enforceable. There should be support of low-income residency as part of this project. I am a white resident of North Portland who opposes further economic oppression of my African-American neighbors in the Interstate Corridor urban renewal area. I have attended community meetings where it seems that big business and the PDC are only giving lip service to input from the residents. This deal with Trader Joe's is just the latest in the shameful list of political greed and deception. This backroom deal does not serve the people who currently live in Northeast Alberta neighborhood. Happened with no community input and threatens existing locally owned businesses. It's a dirty deal. I'm sick of seeing developers decide what our communities will look like, and I am sick of unbridled displacement of the communities who have historically lived in North and Northeast Portland. I think individually, if we look at this deal, you're not gonna see much other than a big subsidy, no community input. But I think, if you look historically at the role the PDC has in Northeast Portland is literally a case study in gentrification. And this deal follows the same playbook and the same template. And to say that this deal doesn't contribute to gentrification is simply not true. I think we have to acknowledge the past by correcting the wrongs, not by issuing statements, but by structural changes. And I don't think this body is prepared for those structural changes. But I think there's people in this room and there's people in this city that are prepared to force you to make those structural changes.
Okay, thank all of you for taking the time to be with us today. I think on behalf of the commission, if you haven't seen a copy of the response by the mayor and by Patrick to the requested letter, there's copies outside. It gives you a blueprint as to where we expect to go from here. We do have many of the same concerns, and frankly, we look forward to working with the broad community over the future investments that PDC is going to make in North and Northeast Portland. So that's all we have signed up today. Again, thank you for being with us. We're going to move on to agenda items. The first item is a consent item, Resolution 7035. It's an action item authorizing the executive director to execute professional services contracts for implementation of Union Station Phase 3 preliminary engineering design and environmental review project. Resolution 7035, I look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No. All three of us. Perfect, thank you. Item number 1, Tom, good job. We will now adjourn the PDC board meeting and convene the Portland Development Commission Audit Committee. We will reconvene the PDC board meeting after this item. This is also an action item, Resolution 7036, accepting and approving comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year 2012-13 as required by Oregon Revised Statute 297.425, Portland City Charter, Chapter 15-104, and PDC Resolution number 6112. We have Faye and Catherine with us, and I know we have other guests. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Andrews, Commissioners, Executive Director Patrick Quinton. My name is Faye Brown, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer at PDC, and I'm here with Catherine Kaminsky, PDC's Accounting Manager. We're here to present to you PDC's Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or CAFR, for fiscal year 2013. We received an unmodified opinion on the CAFR from our auditor, Moss Adams. We have submitted the CAFR to the state of Oregon in compliance with state law, and also to the Government Finance Officers Association with an application for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Should we receive the award, that will be our 26th, which we're very proud of. We ask that you accept the report. We're also providing you with PDC's management responses to Moss Adams' letter to the Audit Committee dated November 15th, 2013, and we request that you also accept the responses from management. We felt that the audit went relatively smoothly this year and would like to thank Moss Adams for their services, as well as the City Auditor's Office and PDC's accounting staff, Amy Aragon, Sam Bragato, Yana Easmont, Farah Mars Kazui, and Michelle Whaley, and of course, Catherine Kaminsky. I now would like to turn it over to the staff from the City Auditor's Office. We have Drummond Kahn and Fiona Earle, and Nancy Young with Moss Adams to discuss the audit process, the audit opinion, and the reports.
Good afternoon and hello again.
Thank you.
Aye.
Good afternoon, Chair Andrews, members of the Commission. I'm Drummond Kahn, Director of the Audit Services Division in the City Auditor's Office. And it's once again a pleasure to be with you to introduce Nancy Young, the Senior Manager from Moss Adams LLP. Moss Adams is a licensed municipal audit firm, and they've operated conducting this audit under contract to the City Auditor's Office. We appreciated all of their great work, as well as the work of Faye and Catherine and their team in preparing these financial statements. The oversight that's provided here through the city to PDC is very important. It allows PDC and its commission to have a very arm's length relationship with its auditors, in that we work for the independently elected city auditor and then independently manage the contract with the outside financial auditors, which gives you, the commission, and the public an extra layer of oversight. We appreciate the work of Commissioners Wilhoit and Molis and their great work reviewing interim audit information and providing context to both us as your city auditor representatives, as well as to the outside audit firm of Moss Adams. So it's a good process. It's been working well, and my pleasure to introduce Nancy Young, who will walk you through the audit results and findings. and also thanking Fiona Earle of our office, a principal management auditor, who oversees this important contract with the outside audit firm.
Great, thank you, Drummond. As you said, my name is Nancy Young, and I'm a senior manager with Moss Adams in our Portland office. So here's a list of things that we're going to cover today, and I'm not going to spend any time here, but let's just get right into it. So the natures of the services that we have provided, we did an audit of your financial statements under generally accepted government auditing standards. We provide a technical review of your CAFR for compliance with GAAP, as well as the GFOA Certificate of Excellence requirements, which Faye mentioned earlier. You're a lot of numbers in the running for having received that certificate. We also perform compliance testing as required under the Oregon Minimum Audit Standards, and then we also have some guidance on best practice observations and recommendations. When you look at your audit, we issued an unmodified opinion. I just want to take a moment, and if you remember a year ago when we presented to you, we said we gave you an unqualified opinion. Well, the GASB came out and said it's going to be more meaningful to you to have an unmodified as opposed to an unqualified opinion. So I hope that does something for you and is more meaningful. At the end of the day, it means the same. You've got a clean opinion. It doesn't get any better than that, so congratulations. When we look at your federal internal control and compliance report, we had no reportable items. And when we look at the Oregon Minimum Standards compliance requirements, again, we have no findings. And I just want to comment on that. You know, the Oregon Minimum Standards, they're pretty cut and dry. If you have one instance, one item that's out of compliance, you are out of compliance and we have a finding. So congratulations on having no findings this year. We do have some required communication with those charged with governance, which would be all of you. We had no disagreements with management, and we had no difficulties in conducting the audit. Now, we always have some good discussions regarding, application and accounting treatment, and we always appreciate that. With PDC, with Faye and Catherine, we appreciate that they don't just take what we give them and run with it, but they push back and they challenge us and we challenge them, and that's the kind of client that we want to have. Regarding any made or past audit adjustments, there were no adjustments made. There was one past audit adjustment for $160,000. We're looking at that and we're saying individually and in the aggregate, it does not have a material impact on the financial statements, and so we agreed with management's decision in passing on that. It related to employee health insurance premium, the accrual reported in advance of the period of coverage. For process improvement areas, some of the things that we noted, these are best practices. Your bank reconciliation review, it's clear that it's occurring, but the documentation could be better, indicating who performed that review, when it was completed, and any questions that resulted out of that. When you look at property held for sale, making sure that there's a completion of the property valuations before the financial reporting deadlines. That property held for sale has been an ongoing topic with you between Moss Adams and PDC for a number of years, and we appreciate the improvements that PDC staff has had over managing that property held for sale. And then the accrued expenses, the accrual of benefits only for the coverage months. Now, there's a slew of new accounting pronouncements that are coming out that are going to hit in 2014 and 2015. Some of those items are going to have an effect on PDC, specifically relating to pension plans. And it's nice that you have an accounting staff who stays up to date on those pronouncements, looks at the effects of those, and communicates with us, your auditors, well before the implementation of those. So we're not going to sit here and go through each one of those. Quite frankly, they're all a little bit boring, but be assured that your staff here at PDC have those underhand and are looking at those even today.
And these will apply to all state and local governments around the country, so these aren't unique to Oregon or to PDC by any means.
Correct, thank you. We do want to thank Faye, Catherine, and Michelle for their work in accommodating the auditors in the audit process, both Drummond and Fiona from the auditor's office, and managing the contract and the communication that we have with them. So is there any questions?
I'm going to give Commissioner Moelis the first opportunity here as the long liaison, along with Charles, to the audit committee. I think it's the 6 years that I've been here, you have been after it every year. Looks like a really good year.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Andrews, and thanks to you folks for the report, and to Faye and Catherine, to their team. And it is too bad Commissioner Wilhoit isn't here, because he's the leader in this process. He's you know, understands it very well, asks good questions, and there's good follow-through. I think this is the cleanest audit that we've ever had since I've been involved, so that's really heartening. It seems to me that our staff and the city and Moss Adams are all, like you said earlier, working well together, and when there is items that are found that either need correction or adjustment, Charles and I get an email once a month that shows a running tally of, you know, items that are underway. These have been completed. These still aren't completed, but here's the status of them, and we meet at least once a quarter, maybe every other month sometimes, and keep on top of that stuff. So it's, I think it's a good process, and then obviously we bring it back to the full board. But I think it's been interesting for me. I've learned a lot, and I think, like I said, Faye and her team deserve a lot of credit and thanks for the good work that they're doing, and 26 years in a row, right? If we get the award again, which obviously we should, so that's great work.
Great. Well, thank you again. I get to talk about my work on FIC all of the time. You guys get to work in the trenches the entire year. This is the only time you really get the pat on the back, so we'll have to do that for Charles when he gets here as well.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kelly, any questions, comments?
You know, I don't think so. I've been on a lot of nonprofit boards and sat through some pretty trying issues with audits and so on. So it's nice to come to an organization where there's a nice, clean audit to start out with.
Thank you. Patrick?
Just once again, thanks to Faye and Catherine and the team, and thanks to our auditors. There's the clean audit and the process where they're both, we kind of live that, and it's nice also to see how well the process works, and obviously the end result is a clean audit as well. So thanks to everybody.
Great, thank you. Sure, please.
Thing that wasn't mentioned too much, but I think it's really important to get on the record, and it's a big part of it, is they're always looking at internal controls and making sure that the right processes and controls are in place to make sure that this is how we get to the end result, which is a clean audit. So I think that's an important part of the effort as well, and worth mentioning. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is Resolution 7036, accepting and approving comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year 2012-13 as required by Oregon Revised Statute 297.425, Portland City Charter, Chapter 15-104, and PDC Resolution 6112. I'd look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
You guys are good. Any further discussion?
No
All those in
further
favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
And back on time. The next item, oh, I'm sorry, we now adjourn as the Portland Development Commission Audit Committee and reconvene the PDC Board Commission meeting. The next item is also an action item, Resolution 7037, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Bureau of Transportation for the design and construction of the Portland streetcar alignment along Southwest Montgomery Street between 4th and 5th Avenues, providing funding in an amount not to exceed $1,524,546 from the Education, South Park Blocks, and North Macadam Urban Renewal Areas. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon, Chair Andrews and Commissioners, and welcome, Commissioner Kelly. I'm Lisa Abwoff, and I'm the Central City Manager with the Portland Development Commission, and as the Chair mentioned, I'm here to present an IGA with PBOT for a permanent streetcar alignment that has been long planned for and envisioned for this area for the past 10 years. So the specific action is twofold. It's to improve the intergovernmental agreement for this scope of work and to provide funding in the amount of just over $1.5 million. A little bit of history. As I stated, this is a conversation that's been had by the city and PDC for over 10 years, starting in 2003 when the alignment between PSU and River Place was contemplated, designed, and constructed. In 2005, PBOT completed that extension from PSU down to River Place, and at the time, this alignment at the specific intersection was completed as a temporary alignment intentionally to preserve developability at what we call the Montgomery blocks, which included the PSU Urban Center Plaza, what was then built as the Student Rec Center, and the parcels that PDC owns between Southwest 4th and 5th Avenues adjacent to Southwest Montgomery. Between 2005 and 2009, PDC proceeded to also acquire the Jasmine Restaurant for consolidation with the PSU carpool lot that's just adjacent to where this alignment goes. And we coordinated with PBOT on identifying permanent alignment options that would support the adjacent development, including looking at options that ran diagonally through the block. Between 2009 and 2010, PBOT applied for and was awarded an ODOT Connect Oregon grant for the construction of this the permanent alignment, and the award had both match and timeline requirements. At the time, PDC was $1.5 million of that match, and PBOT is required to complete the alignment by the end of 2014. Between 2009 and 2011, with the Oregon Sustainability Center project not moving forward, we've continued to work with PBOT to maintain flexibility for future developability of PDC parcels. So this gives you a sense of where the actual improvements will occur. You'll see it in the yellow line. You may know this. It runs just adjacent to the diagonal alignment that cuts through PSU's Urban Center Plaza and next to the Value Inn along Southwest Montgomery. The specific improvements will also cross through 3 urban renewal areas, which you note in the map to the upper left. The majority of the track runs through the Education URA on Southwest Montgomery and Southwest 4th Avenue, with the improvements at the intersection of Southwest Harrison and 4th Avenue in North Mac, and the improvements at Southwest 5th Avenue and Montgomery in South Park blocks. These improvements are key to improving the flow of traffic along Southwest 5th and continuing to support the growth of PSU in this neighborhood. Other public benefits that are key to the streetcar system is this is actually the single bottleneck in the system currently because streetcars have to wait either on Southwest 5th or on Southwest Harrison given the single track alignment. And this also will remove conflict with auto queuing that has occurred since the time that light rail was also introduced to Southwest 5th Avenue, which allocated one lane to streetcar, 1 lane to buses, and 1 lane that's shared between the streetcar and autos. And ideally, it will also improve pedestrian connectivity because if you've ever been at that intersection and given the volume of demand for transit at PSU, you'll note it is a very, very complex intersection. Lastly, to call out for you, in conversations with PBOT, we've confirmed that the contracts will include PDC's business and workforce equity programs for construction contracts. This gives you an overview of the sources and uses. You'll note PDC's dollars are just under 50% of the total sources, which include the ODOT grant at $1.9 million, general funds to the tune of $230,000, and then you see the split between each of the urban renewal areas. As noted in the report, this will be adjusted in our budget. This was recalculated from last year's approved budget based on actual improvements happening in each of the URAs. So that concludes my presentation. I think this is definitely an alignment I know many of you have heard before, either related to adjacent development, preserving PDC's value and flexibility in developing adjacent parcels that we do own, and making sure that the streetcar system works to maximum efficiency.
So I mean, the history of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, really is that this section was left kind of in this unfinished state because there was a potential plan to actually run the streetcar through the block, which would have been a part of the development that at the time Oregon Sustainability Center was on it. And so we're at a point in time where both with the impending expansion of the light rail as well as a need to move forward in terms of development and not wanting to have to develop around a train running right through the middle of the block, we're at a point where we really need to get this work done. It's unusual and a little bit complicated, but you actually have 3 different districts that border this, so you've got 3 different districts that have to fund it. Tom, they probably didn't tell you when you were appointed, but you actually have personal responsibility to make sure that TIF money is spent legally.
I think they did tell me that.
Okay. And that's what we're doing here. And then finally, from my point of view, it's just really great news to hear that despite the fact that PBOT or ODOT is involved in this, where we've gotten a little bit of pushback in the past with regard to meeting our workforce goals, that we're on the same page with regard to them. So I frankly think this is pretty much a no-brainer. And I'll give you the opportunity to speak next.
You know, being new to all of this, I'm not sure, you know, I think I understand it, and it certainly makes sense. And this is kind of like the finalization of this situation, right? There isn't, this is a permanent fix, is that right?
That's correct.
I mean, that's, for me, I always want to look forward and make sure that there isn't something dangling out there in the future. So I agree, seems like a no-brainer.
Great, thank you. Mr. Mullis?
No, I agree.
All right, nice job, Lisa. This is Resolution 7037, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Bureau of Transportation for the design and construction of the Portland streetcar alignment along Southwest Montgomery Street between Southwest 4th and 5th Avenues, providing funding in an amount not to exceed $1,524,546 from the Education, South Park blocks, and North Macadam urban renewal areas. I'd look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Let's get her done.
Thanks, Lisa.
Final item on today's agenda is also an action item, Resolution 7038, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Bureau of Transportation for construction of the Southeast 122nd Ramona to Holgate Sidewalk Infill Project in the Lentz Town Center Urban Renewal Area, providing funding in an amount not to exceed $1 million.
Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon, Chair Andrews, Commissioners, and Executive Director Quinton. My name is Sue Lewis. I'm a project manager in the Neighborhood Division of the Urban Development Division, and I'm here to present to you the Southeast 122nd Sidewalk Project. I also have Kyle Chiswick with the Bureau of Transportation here in the audience, should there be any questions that I cannot answer. So before you, your proposal is to approve an IGA for up to $1 million to construct sidewalks and pedestrian crossings. If this action is approved, it will construct approximately 1 mile of sidewalks where no sidewalks currently exist. We will update and add ADA curb ramps. We'll enhance the pedestrian bicycle crossings and add up to 76 trees. This project here, you can see this is the boundary of the Lentz URA. 122nd borders to the east of the URA, and the project scope here is between Holgate and Ramona Street. The section from Holgate to Powell was completed last year. It was not quite as extensive as this section and was able to be constructed by the Bureau of Transportation's Maintenance Bureau. The traffic volumes on 122nd are quite high. They actually almost mirror that of Powell Boulevard. And it is also served by 2 transit buses, the 17 that brings ridership downtown, and the 71 bus that loops around from Clackamas Town Center up to Park Rose Transit Center, down 122nd to Foster to the Lentz Town Center. The lack of sidewalks make it inaccessible to wheelchair users, and it's also lacks a safe and convenient pedestrian access to the local schools there. This is an aerial of 122nd. You'll see there's several amenities, Raymond Park, Alisot. There's a high volume of senior housing and assisted living facilities here. And the neighborhood here is the Palhurst-Gilbert neighborhood, and it's within the David Douglas School District. It's a very diverse area with high volume households with a lot of attendance into the local school districts there and users of the park. The project here, you'll see, this is, shows you where from Holgate down to the Ramona. The red is where the sidewalks are missing. There's no sidewalks there. The green is where existing sidewalks. We will also add some pedestrian crossings there at Raymond Street, excuse me, and Schiller Street. There are already crossings, stoplights at Holgate and Herald and the Springwater Trail. The project, PDC invested in the design and engineering of the plan. It was already, portion is complete. The federal grant was used to purchase the necessary right-of-way to make the wide sidewalks, and we are investing a large majority of the construction of the project, so therefore PDC's equity policy will apply to this project. These are examples of what exists now from Holgate to Ramona. You can see that's very difficult to access, even the transit centers, and there's no curbs. So wheelchair-bound folks would need to go out into the parking area to get around to the bus station. So here's two examples of what the sidewalk infill looks like that was constructed from Holgate north to Powell. And you can see it adds more accessibility there. If the project is approved, it will go to bid this spring and should be completed by the end of this calendar year. Any questions?
No, thank you. I took the opportunity to actually go out there this weekend like I like to do for these things because I don't get to that neighborhood very often. And unfortunately, I got stuck in an accident on I-84, so what was going to take me an hour took me well over 2. But it's a pretty interesting stretch of road. It's a very wide road to begin with, and as you can see from the map, it's interesting. There are sections that have what I would call modern, fairly wide sidewalks, and then there are sections that have really skinny sidewalks that look like they're probably 1920s, 1930s version. And then most of that entire mile has no sidewalks at all. And in addition, in that mile, there are, I don't think there are any crosswalks whatsoever, and it's not very well lit. So it's one of those places where you've got to go a long, long way at this point to get to actually find a crosswalk or a light to be able to get across the street without some help. There are a lot of telephone poles that have to get moved. There are a lot of fire hydrants that need to get moved. So it's not an inexpensive process, but I think it's been a long time coming, and I think the neighborhood will do much better for it. John, any questions or comments?
Not really questions. I would just echo your comments. Yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, not only on Southeast 122nd, but out in East Portland generally. But that's a real good place to start. And I've been on the stretch from Holgate North where they redid a few years ago, and it makes a dramatic difference. So, and obviously, safety, is a big deal. So, thank you. Thanks, Sue.
Great. Commissioner Kelly?
I just have to say, when I initially talked with Mayor Charlie Hales about taking this position, first thing I asked him was, what about everything east of 122nd? That seems to me that the history of this city, we've forsaken that part of town. So I actually am excited to vote yes to put in some sidewalks on 122nd.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
All right, this is Resolution 7038, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Bureau of Transportation for construction of the Southeast 122nd Ramona to Holgate Sidewalk Infill Project in the Lentz Town Center Urban Renewal Area, providing funding in an amount not to exceed $1 million. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trang. Thank you, Patrick. We're adjourned.
Wow.
Very expeditious.